Hey, what's up, listeners? We're back again for another episode of Public Sports Announcement. I'm your host, Alvin. I'm here with my co-host.
What's going on, guys? Reezaan here.
What's going on? This is Sam.
All right, guys, you can listen to us, as y'all know, SoundCloud. We're on Go Defy Live. Please support PSA in any way that you can, and reach out to us via Twitter, via Go Defy Live. Give us some suggestions. We want to know what you guys think. Also, Go Defy Life is selling gear. So we've got shirts, hoodies, hats, long sleeve shirts, crew necks, anything you need on the website, Go Defy Life. Go get some stuff, all reasonably priced and looks pretty dope. All right, without any further ado, we're going to follow up last week with the same divisional style episode. This week is AFC and NFC South. Last week we did the NFC and AFC North, so this week we're going to start on the AFC. As usual, we're going to have the off-season acquisitions, and we're going to give you a preview of their upcoming season and over-under for how we think the season is going to go. So let's get it started. First up is the Houston Texans. Reezaan, what they do this offseason?
Yeah, so the Houston Texans went out and signed a couple of key free agents. No one that really jumps off the page except Tyrann Mathieu. He signed a 1-year, $7 million contract after being released by the Arizona Cardinals. Aaron Colvin, cornerback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was the Jaguars' number 3 corner. He landed a 4-year, $34 million deal with the Texans. And Zach Fulton signed a 4-year, $28 million. He's a offensive guard. And like I said, not really crazy big names, but players who are definitely going to make an impact in areas where they need them.
Yeah, those are both not big names, but really good signs. I like Tyrann Mathieu. Their defense is already pretty good, and adding him at the price that they did, I think he's a really good player. And I don't think the Cardinals should have let him go. I think they could use him, but I understand them cutting the cap and stuff like that. But I still like the Honey Badger, and I think that's a great addition to that defense because he's a versatile weapon that can really do anything. And their offensive
versatile.
line, yeah, exactly. Their offensive line needs the help. So, any signing for us is not a big name for them. They could really use the help and the depth. But other than that, the team is on defense really solid, on offense really young. We're going to see what Deshaun Watson comes back, how he looks. Because if he's looking how he looked the first couple games, the Texans really do some damage in this division. DeAndre Hopkins and Lamar Miller, they got a pretty stacked offense.
Yeah, I'm a huge Tyrann Mathieu fan when he's healthy. I think he can pretty much help any defense in the NFL when he's performing how we know he can. So I just hope we get that Tyrann Mathieu this year and not, the Tyrann Mathieu of 2016. I think bolstering that offensive line is really going to help them out a lot because it was pretty bad last year, especially after they traded away Dwayne Brown. And they need it for Deshaun Watson. He's probably going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this year. We saw what he did last year in the few games that he played. I'm a big fan. I'm excited to see him put in a whole season. And I like how they look, though.
Yeah, I'll talk about him for a second. The rate that he was going at is unsustainable, but we saw what Deshaun Watson can do for a team. I remember watching the Seattle and Texans game, and he just went off. He was not fazed by one of the best defenses that we've seen in the past 5 to 7 years.
And Richard Sherman actually said that was the best game any quarterback had ever played against them.
So we saw what Deshaun Watson could do last year. You said he'll be one of the best quarterbacks. Are you expecting a MVP type season from him again?
I think it's hard to say you expect an MVP type season from any player, but I think he could. He's talented enough. But I'm not just going to call that he's going to win MVP.
Yeah, to me, the way I look at it, though, is usually after a player breaks out the way he did, the following season is a little bit more difficult. I'm not saying that he's going to be a below average quarterback or anything like that, but his numbers are going to fall. I don't think the Texans are going to do as well as they were during that run they had, but I think he'll still be an extremely good quarterback. Little fantasy advice, I wouldn't draft him in the top 5 rounds just because that's me. I'm not going to trust someone who had the type of year he had last year and then is coming back with an ACL injury. It's kind of hard, and like you said, Dwayne Brown isn't there either.
So we didn't really mention that they're also getting J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney back, and I'm pretty sure one of their starting linebackers was hurt all last year too.
Yeah, Whitney Marsalis.
Yeah. So their whole defense is going to be healthy. They upgraded their secondary. They're a team to watch out for next year.
Yeah, no doubt. And either way, if Deshaun Watson has an MVP season, or just a kind of average season, they have a defense that can carry them and weapons around Deshaun Watson, so his life's not going to be that hard. So either way, that's a team that we need to look out for. It's just about, are they going to be a playoff contender or a Super Bowl contender? In my opinion.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about the rest of the division. It's one of the hardest divisions in the NFL. So they're definitely going to have to win some really tough, gritty, hard-fought games for it to happen. And Deshaun Watson is definitely the quarterback, the young quarterback who I'd want in that division to do it. But time will tell about his recovery and, how things will be clicking for him in that offense.
I agree.
All right.
So
over-unders?
Yeah, they're looking at 8.5 wins. I'm going to say over, and I think they get 10.
I'm going to say over. I think they get 9 just because their division is stacked.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be kind of tough to win too many games in there, but I think they get 9. And I also think that they make the playoffs.
Agree. I think either way
9
they make
wins?
the playoffs. No. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough.
I think 9 wins is good enough to make the playoffs.
I don't know. I say they win 9 too, but so I'm going over 9, but I don't think they make the playoffs with 9 wins. We talked about it last week. Like, winning in the AFC is going to be extremely hard, and I think you have to win at least 10 games to be in the playoffs.
No, I disagree.
I don't think so.
The NFC I think is built like that. But think about the AFC. There's a bunch of divisions. There's the 2 of the divisions. There's one winner, and everybody else kind of sucks. So unlike the NFC, where every division has a couple contenders, there's divisions in the AFC where the Patriots are probably going to walk away with that division. The Bills aren't going to win many games. The Jets aren't going to win many games. And the Dolphins are not going to win games. The Steelers are going to win games. The Browns, the Ravens, and the Bengals aren't going to win enough games.
My thing is, you look at the other division, the AFC West. I think that's the most important. That's the division that we're going to see the most playoff teams. You have the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I think 2 teams get in.
That's a conversation for a different day.
Agreed, but 2 of those teams get in, and so it's like the wild card spot. You're going to be battling them and another team in that division. So I think you can get in or not. But
either way, I got 9 wins and playoffs. Alvin, you got them making the playoffs?
10 wins for sure.
All right, Reezaan?
Yeah, I got 9 wins also, but I don't have them making the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, next up, the Colts. Yeah, Reezaan, what they do this offseason?
Well, the Colts don't ever do much of anything. So the Colts
are
well, like they always have so much cap space, and it's something that I've always talked to Alvin about is that the way they did things with Andrew Luck to me wasn't fair. They had the best quarterback to come out of the NFL draft on a rookie contract and did not want to spend any money, and we're still seeing that they don't like to spend money. Their biggest signing for this offseason was Eric Ebron, tight end from the Detroit Lions, gave him a 2-year maxed out $15 million contract with incentives. The reason that their offseason is not that great to me is because they have Jack Doyle. And Jack Doyle is a pretty damn good tight end who is going to play really well alongside Andrew Luck being healthy. Getting Eric Ebron wasn't that great. They just got him to have a good number 2 tight end. But the Colts really don't do anything. They don't really ever make any moves. They hope their quarterback can carry them deep into the playoffs like Peyton Manning did and like Andrew Luck has done once before. But what do you guys think about this Colts team? Where do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, I also don't think they made any standout moves. Obviously, getting Andrew Luck back is their biggest transaction this offseason, but Eric Ebron will at least add like a second option at the tight end for him to go to. Having two options at tight end is always better than one. So I see a little bit of contribution from him. They also have T.Y. Hilton, who's one of the best receivers in the league, in my opinion. And they signed Ryan Grant to a huge deal. Don't think that was deserved, but we'll see what he can do this year. Their defense is still pretty bad, so I don't think that they're much better this year. They're better, but probably not a playoff team, in my opinion.
I like Andrew Luck a lot. Y'all know that Andrew Luck's always been my guy, and him coming back this year should be huge for the Colts. They should win a lot more games, but this division is tough, and their defense isn't good. I think Sam, you're right about Ebron, and that two tight ends is better than one, but also a second tight end that doesn't really have to block is really useful on teams that don't really have a second receiver. And so I think Ebron has the potential to be like a really poor man's like Jimmy Graham kind of positioning on the field, because he's going to be a third receiver because it's him or like Dante Moncrief. Like,
They lost Moncrief.
Yeah. Oh, they lost Moncrief. Okay, like it's nothing. So I think he's going to have an impact also. But also, Ebron drops a lot of passes, and he's not really that good of a tight end. That's the other problem. So I think they kind of overpaid him, but I think at the end of the day, he'll still have a little impact. But all in all,
I just want to clarify. Ryan Grant didn't sign a huge deal with the Colts. He signed a 1-year, $5 million deal. He originally signed a 4-year deal with the Ravens, but he failed his physical.
Okay, that's what I was thinking about.
Yep. Okay. Also, the Colts, they're going to be a good team. I'm going to be rooting for them a little bit, but they're not going to win very many games. Probably be last in their division. But they're making good progress. And to your point about their cap space, I think next year, this coming year is the year they make some noise in free agency.
Yeah, they're going to have to start making noise at some point. I mean, they're not a team that is afraid of drafting talent, but they don't like to play. They don't like to pay their own players, and they don't like to pay free agents. And as we've seen, and they don't make a lot of trades. So as we've seen in the NFL very recently, the teams that a lot of people have high hopes on, like the Rams and the Eagles, what are these teams doing? They're building through trading, through bringing in marquee free agents, where the Colts really have someone who a lot of players will look to and believe in, but they're not willing to spend money. Until that changes, I don't really see the Colts doing much of anything. T.Y. Hilton and Jack Doyle on offense aren't good enough. Their offensive line isn't good enough. Their defense sure as hell isn't good enough. So I'm not very high on the Colts. I guess with that, we'll do over under.
6.5. And I'm saying under. I think they probably get to 6, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, look at their division. They probably only win one game in their division. They probably sneak in by the Titans.
Yeah, I agree. I think they win 6 games. And I think maybe Andrew Luck could win them 8, but either way, it still won't be enough to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. Sam?
I want to say under, just because the team isn't that good, but I don't want to sleep on Andrew Luck. How many games did they win last year?
I think like 3 or 4.
Give me 1 second.
I'm going to just go ahead and say under. I think they win 6. They improved, but they're still not a very good team.
Yeah, they are.
All right, real quick. One-word answer. Andrew Luck, does he have a good year this year? Like, a good year?
No.
Not just... No? Reezaan?
Yeah, but it depends on your definition of good. Like
All right, then yeah. We're not getting into that, but yeah,
All right.
I say yeah too. And the Colts won 4 games last year, so.
Yeah.
All right, next up,
All right.
Titans. What you
Tennessee Titans, one of the more interesting teams in the NFL right now. They made a lot of good moves. Signed Dion Lewis to a 4-year, $20 million deal from the New England Patriots. They also signed Malcolm Butler on a 5-year, $61 million deal from the New England Patriots. They also signed Josh Klein to a 4-year deal. He's an offensive guard. They also brought in Benny Logan on a 1-year deal. So a lot of really interesting moves by the Tennessee Titans, definitely in places where they needed him. DeMarco Murray's gone. They didn't have a lot of depth at corner. They lost Jason McCourty. So this is a team that could be on the rise. They might just be in the wrong division for it.
Yeah, and that's tough because they probably win 2 games in their division. So like they're gonna have a hard time sneaking wins after having a good offseason and after having young talent. Poor Titans. But players to look out for. Corey Davis, the receiver, I really like him. I think he had a rough rookie year and he didn't really show up at all into the playoffs. But I really like him. He's gonna be one of the receivers we talk about for the next 10 years.
Corey Davis.
Yep. And he was drafted pretty high, and people thought it was a little high, and they reached a little bit, but he is a really talented receiver. I really like him.
I agree. I like Corey Davis. I think he has a much better year this year, but I haven't seen enough out of him for me to completely believe that their receivers are decent because their other one is Taywan Taylor, and I haven't seen anything from him. But otherwise, I like the addition of Josh Klein to solidify their offensive line, and finally Derrick Henry is starting for them. I've been saying this for years. He should have been the starter. DeMarco Murray was not that good. I see a huge increase in their run production this year. Also, they have one of the best safeties in the league, Kevin Byard. So adding Malcolm Butler to that secondary, who they also added Kenny Vaccaro. He's not a great safety, but an upgrade from what they had last year. I think their defense is pretty good, and I think they're good enough to make the playoffs this year. I like Marcus Mariota. He just needs to be more consistent.
Yeah, Marcus Mariota has always been an interesting quarterback. He has these games where he plays extremely well, and then the next game he ends up hurt. So he needs to stay on the field, be a little bit more consistent. They just gave Taylor Lewan, their left tackle, a huge contract, made him the highest paid lineman in NFL history. So they have a lot of talent around him. He needs to do better and put it to use and utilize everybody around him. Delaney Walker is one of the best tight ends in the league. Derrick Henry's there. Dion Lewis is there. Corey Davis, I'm expecting big things from him this year. Really flashed during the playoffs last year. So this is a team that could be on the rise, but like Alvin said, their division is extremely tough. I think they'll win more than 2 games, but I can't tell you which games they'll win. I just think they're a good enough team to pull out a couple more wins. So the Tennessee Titans are going to need to play good, hard-nosed football, running it a lot with Derrick Henry, utilizing Dion Lewis properly, and I think they could do really good things. I just don't know how far they'll be able to go.
Yeah, that's the question. How far they'll be able to go, and with these, I don't think they make the playoffs. But their over under is 8. I'm gonna say, even though I don't think they win 8 games to push.
Yeah, I think they go just over. I think they also win 9 games. I think they're a good enough team to really beat some opponents outside of their division.
I also think they win 8 games and don't make the playoffs.
All right, last team in the division and most exciting team in the division, Jacksonville Jaguars.
So the Jaguars made a lot of interesting moves, added a lot of pass catchers. They added Austin Seferian-Jenkins from the New York Jets. They added Niles Hall from the Washington Redskins. They added Dante Moncrief from the Indianapolis Colts. They also added the best guard in free agency and a top 5 guard in the NFL, Andrew Norwell, to a 5-year, $66.5 million contract. They also signed cornerback DJ Hayden from the Oakland Raiders, and they re-signed one of their own in Marquise Lee. They added a lot of young talent, a lot of good, hard, physical tight ends. They added a speedster in Dante Moncrief who could really stretch the field, and this offense looks really good to me. It's literally in the hands of Blake Bortles. If you replace one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL and you put them on the Jaguars roster, they're probably the favorite to win the Super Bowl. That's how good their roster is. They have everything in place to do good and really to win a Super Bowl, except for their quarterback. If he can play the way he did against the Steelers last year and the Patriots last year, then this is a team that can go extremely, extremely far. But do we believe in Blake Bortles?
Yeah, I think that is the question about the Jaguars. Is do you believe Blake Bortles? And is he going to not lose them games? Because I think if he manages to not lose them more than a game next year, they win 12 games. Like, that's how good the rest of this team is. That's how good the defense is. Defense alone is probably going to win them 9 games. And Jalen Ramsey's a dog. They got A.J. Boye on the other side, who's like really almost just as good. Defensive line is stacked. Linebackers are stacked. This is just an overall stacked team on defense, and hopefully Blake Bortles doesn't choke. But he managed, like, he was really good in the playoffs and in the clutch last year. He didn't choke at any moment in the playoffs last year.
Yes, so they added all those pass catchers. My problem is also who's getting them the ball. It all depends on Blake Bortles. They have one of the best offensive lines. Well, they have a good offensive line after signing Andrew Norwell. They also have Cam Robinson, who's an extremely good left tackle. Defense speaks for itself, probably the best defense in football. I think it really just depends on Blake Bortles.
Yeah, I think their offensive line has definitely gotten better from last year. It's still not up there along with the best, but I definitely think that it's good. It's not. I wouldn't call it a top 5 offensive line or anything like that.
No.
They'll be able to do enough to win the division. I really do. I think it's not even close. And I'm going to go out and say it. I think the Jaguars are my pick as of right now to win the Super Bowl. I've been saying it for the past month or so. This team is so good. They have every part of what it takes to be successful. And I think Blake Bortles will be able to do enough, like you said, Alvin, not to lose them games. I don't think he'll be asked to go out and win them 5-6 games like the elite quarterbacks have to do. And because of that, I think they'll do enough. I think their defense will do enough. And he will win them games. I think there'll be 3-4 games in the year that he goes out and wins for them. I don't know if it's a last-minute drive or whatever it is, but I think playing a really good football game, 300 yards, 3-4 touchdowns, I think he'll be able to do that because there'll be so much attention on Leonard Fournette. I think the Jaguars are going to be really, really special.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've gone thus far without mentioning their probably best offensive player, Leonard Fournette. But I also think he has a down year. I think he has a little sophomore slump. And especially since there's not a lot on that offense. So he's going to get a lot of attention. And so we'll see what Blake Bortles gets him into. And Vegas says they're getting 9 wins this year. So I definitely going over. I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, I might
win
put
12 games.
I might put $500 on 9 games. Seriously, that's so.
Yeah,
they're gonna win 9 games by like the 10th game of the year.
So Vegas doesn't have anyone in this division winning more than 10 games, right?
Yep.
Like it's been 8.5, 6.5, 9,
8,
and
8.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know what Vegas is thinking, but I think the Jaguars won 13 games. It's way over for me.
Yeah, way over.
And if for all those wondering, it's minus 135 for the over.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
All right, so that's our AFC South real quick, guys, check me if I'm wrong, but right, we've got Jaguars at number 1, Texans 2, Titans 3, Colts 4, correct?
Yep.
Correct.
That's what I figured. Yeah. Jaguars gonna run away with that division, I think. But anyway, NFC South. All right, we're gonna start with the hometown team here today. Let's see what the Atlanta Falcons did this offseason.
The Dirty Birds. All right, so the Falcons are in a really tight cap situation. They can't really do anything. They had to let some players walk. Their biggest free agent acquisition is probably Brandon Fusco. He's a guard who came over. He signed a 3-year, $12.75 million deal. Their two other really big offseason acquisitions or offseason moves were signing Matt Ryan to the greatest extension or to the biggest extension in NFL history, a 5-year, $150 million contract, and also giving Julio some more incentives on his contract and have pretty much promised him that he will get paid again next year. So the Atlanta Falcons have one of the best rosters in the league from top to bottom, in and out, running back stacked, receivers stacked. Their offensive line is a question, but their quarterback play, if Matt Ryan is on his A game, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Defensive line is a little questionable. Linebackers are extremely athletic. Corners are solid. Safeties are solid. I think we saw it with Matt Ryan in his first year with Kyle Shanahan, and a lot of people don't realize it. He didn't play that well in his first year in that offense. The following year, he has an MVP season. Last year, doesn't play too well, only 20 touchdowns, a big drop from his MVP year. Is this the year that we see this Sarkisian offense break out and Matt Ryan have a bigger year and this offense really explode? Or is this the year that the Falcons disappoint again?
Dang.
Well, yeah, right?
And it like that. Sheesh.
But if you're wondering, Falcons disappoint again. To answer your question, it's coming.
So
I think the Falcons, like you said, Reezaan, truly talented roster, top to bottom. Julio being at the top and him being one of the more dominant receivers in the league. Matt Ryan being a former MVP winner. Freeman and Coleman in the backfield. This is a talented offense with a young, hungry defense. Deion Jones, one of my favorite players. And I think they still let you down. I think they still let all of Atlanta down. They're in a tough division. The division's getting better, and the Falcons are not. So I think Julio has as dominant as he is, his injuries have been a little bit of a problem. And I don't care what nobody says. The man does not catch touchdowns. So I don't care why. We don't really have to get into it. But he doesn't catch touchdowns. I could definitely see this team more than people might expect, and not really contending for this division. Maybe a playoff spot, but I don't think they're going to be a strong team this year.
I think the Falcons are always such an interesting team that you kind of don't know what you're going to get out of them. Their past 5 seasons, they're 4-12, 6-10, 8-8, 11-5, 10-6. So clearly they've gotten better. They've improved not only their roster but their record. Matt Ryan has improved, but he's also had down years in there. I think it just depends on the way Matt Ryan plays. If Matt Ryan has a really good year, then I think the Falcons can win 10, 11 games. But my worry is that this is the last year that the Falcons may have such an explosive offense. I get that they just drafted Calvin Ridley, but you're looking at some cap casualties next year. You're looking at Tevin Coleman probably not coming back. Todd Gurley just reset the running back market. Tevin Coleman's probably going to get somewhere around $7 to $8 million in free agency, and the Falcons can't afford that. They're already paying Devontae Freeman that. You're looking at Julio Jones wanting a bigger contract than he already has. Odell's going to get paid soon, so that's going to inflate Julio's number. You're also looking at Vic Beasley getting paid. So they have players on this offense who are really good, but I don't know how much longer they'll be there. And like you said, Alvin, Julio's always getting hurt, and he's only getting older, and they're only giving him more money. So it's kind of up in the air for me. But this is the year that the Falcons have to go out and really make a push because with this offense that they have, this is the last year they could really do it.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree that this is the last year, but we're definitely getting towards the end of like having this core group of players together. Y'all have already touched. We have one of the most talented rosters in the league. Offense, explosive as hell. I'm so happy we finally secured the right guard position, Brandon Fusco, because that has been our biggest weakness on the offense for the past 3 years probably. So hopefully our offensive line steps it up this year. So for the defense, super talented defense. I just need a huge second year from Duke Riley. That's my player to watch this year, because if he can take a step forward this year, I think our defense can be a top 5 defense in the league, and a lot of it has to do with him. Last year we had the 9th best defense in the league, and we forced the 3rd fewest turnovers, I believe. If we can get that turnover number to top 15 in the league, we'll have a top 5 defense. Other than that, I like where we're at. I think we're improving. I would have liked us to go out and gotten some playmaker, but I understand we don't have the money. We're improving the team within, which is something that most teams don't have the option to do these days. So the fact that we're talented enough and young enough to kind of develop and improve that way, I love it. And I think we got big things planned this year.
My only problem with the Atlanta Falcons is their run defense. They lost Dontari Poe, and they didn't really replace him with anyone. And you and I were watching the draft together. We didn't really see Calvin Ridley coming. We thought it'd be a defensive tackle or an offensive guard. And even though they got Fusco, I don't think he's someone who's going to come in and instantly change the game, make it easier running in between the guard and the center. He's a serviceable guard, and that's at best. So we'll see what this Falcons offense does. Yes, you guys are really explosive, but that was with Kyle Shanahan. With Sarkisian, it was a little different. It was a little bit more conservative. So we'll see what Sarkisian has planned. But I agree with you that this team could be really good. It just depends on how it all plays out.
I mean, yeah, it's his second year. I think he has a little bit more freedom this year with the offense, so it should be a little bit more of his flavor. So we'll see what's going on with that.
I'm curious, what's the over and under here?
So Falcons 9.
You know I'm going over. Without a doubt.
Yeah, I could really see the Falcons winning 10 games. I'm going to go over also.
Yeah, I'm going under. I think they win 8.
Wow.
You're crazy.
Yeah. You heard it here first, guys. PSA. Falcons winning 8 games.
You're tripping.
All right.
Future Super Bowl champions right there.
Yeah, okay. Moving on. Next, we got the New Orleans Saints, real team that has a chance for the Super Bowl this year. What they do this offseason, Reezaan?
Yeah, the New Orleans Saints made some interesting moves. Nothing that's going to jump off the page to you, but I think in some pretty important places. So, Benjamin Watson, tight end. I don't know. This guy's really old, but he plays so well every time he's with the Saints. He plays extremely well. They bought in Patrick Robinson from the Indianapolis Colts on a 4-year, $20 million deal, which only makes their secondary stronger. It's coming out to be one of the strongest secondaries in the league. They also signed Kurt Coleman from the Carolina Panthers on a 3-year, $16 million deal. They also brought in Demario Davis, linebacker, on a 3-year, $24 million deal, and they re-signed the greatest Saint of all time, Drew Brees, on a 2-year deal. So this team, we know Alvin Kamara, we know Michael Thomas, we know Mark Ingram, who's suspended for the first 4 games. We know they have a solid offensive line. They're really building a great defense back there. They traded up almost 10, 12 spots to draft Marcus Davenport to put in next to Cameron Jordan, who is one of the best pass rushers in the league. They're building something here, and this might be the year that they make it out of the NFC and make one big run for Drew Brees. What do you guys think about the Saints and how they'll fare with the rest of this division?
I think they'll do pretty good. I think they have a good chance of winning this division, in my mind. I think the Panthers might give them a little run, but I think at the very least, they split with the Panthers. Probably split, if not sweep the Falcons and sweep the Bucks. So that's 4 wins in the division. That's a pretty easy way to win it.
Yeah, I don't think they made any huge moves this year, but the moves that they made are really well executed. Like, they're good pickups in positions that they need. So they're gonna have a really different team this year, and they're gonna be scary, to be honest. Like, I think Drew Brees has a good 2 or 3 years left in him. 2 or 3 years playing, but maybe like one good Super Bowl run. So I'm kind of scared to see what happens with the whole Saints Falcons, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
they made some good.
To me, their season depends on how fast that defense grows up. If that defense can mature at a like accelerated rate, then they can really contend for a Super Bowl. They got a lot of young studs on that defense, and they're bringing in talent.
They do.
A lot of young studs.
I don't know. My thing would be. Go ahead.
Oh, and they got Michael Thomas, another guy that he's still young and still growing and pretty good already. But if he can be top 5 receiver in the league, hands down, they can make a real run at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they can, and I think they will. This is a team to me that I'm expecting to see in the NFC Championship game. I don't know if this will be Drew Brees' last year, but like Sam said, I think this is the last year he really plays at an elite level. We saw his touchdowns really drop last year with the emergence of the duo of Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Like I said, Mark Ingram is going to be missing for the first 4 games, so I think he'll have to carry this offense a little. I don't know if Alvin Kamara is someone who can carry the ball 25 times and also catch 7-8 passes or whatever crazy numbers he was putting up last year. But this team could be really special. It really just depends on their defense coming together quickly, which I think they will. And Drew Brees is one hell of a leader. I think he'll rally the troops, and this is a team I expect to be contending for the championship in Atlanta in February.
In Atlanta, that would be wild. Their over/under is 9.5, and I'm saying over for sure. I think it's 11.
Yeah, I'm going over. This team is stacked. They're young. Alvin Kamara is scary good. Like, I'm not looking forward to playing him. I'm going over. They probably win 11 games.
Yeah, I'm going to go over also. I'm going to give them 12. This team's one to watch out for, man. I really think they're going to be playing in the Super Bowl next year.
All right, moving on to the least exciting team in this division. Probably the least exciting team we talked about all night, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What happened to them this offseason?
All right. Well, first off, their quarterback is suspended for the first 3 games of the year. He groped an Uber driver, and as we know, the NFL is really cracking down on that. As the face of the franchise, you can't be doing stuff like that, especially as a quarterback, who's had issues in the past in college with his behavior, still doing it as a grown-ass man in the National Football League. It's disappointing. I'm disappointed in Jameis Winston. I really had high hopes for him. I don't really know where it goes from here. Some reports I've read that this might be the last year that the Bucs are going to give him a chance, because a lot of people are expecting the Bucs to lose a lot of games. If the Bucs have a top 5 pick, from what I've read, is that it's possible that they trade Jameis Winston and draft a new quarterback. Going on to some of their bigger moves, let's look at it. Vinny Curry, a really good, solid defensive lineman, signed a $23 million contract with a max value of $27 million. They also brought in Ryan Jensen, offensive lineman. He's a center on a 4-year, $42 million contract. Really, those are their biggest moves, but extremely important moves, areas where they really need them. What do you guys think about this team and all of Jameis Winston's shenanigans?
Yeah, I don't think they're as bad as people make them out to be. I think they have a pretty talented roster. Jameis Winston, He's acting a fool, and at this point, he's 3-4 years into his career.
Yeah, this will be his fourth season.
I feel like he's been in the league too long for us to not know what he is at this point. Like, we get flashes of him being a great leader, a great player, and then we get other flashes of him just doing stupid shit. I feel like he should have matured by now, and we're not sure what we're getting with Jameis Winston. And for that reason, if I was the Bucs, I would try and get what I can out of him and get some return from him, trade him somewhere. Otherwise, their team is pretty talented. They got Mike Evans, O.J. Howard, who I really like as a tight end. Their offensive line isn't very good, but their defensive line is. They signed Vinny Curry. They got Gerald McCoy, drafted Vita Vea, traded for Jason Pierre-Paul. Linebackers are pretty talented. The secondary is pretty average, but I think they could be a 500 team if Jameis Winston came out and performed like the flash of leader that we get sometimes every game. But we never know what we're going to get from him.
Yeah, I think what Jameis Winston is exactly how you described him. Like, occasionally he's a really good leader, a really good quarterback. Most of the time, he's just kind of average quarterback, and occasionally he's a complete dummy. And I think he's shown us that, and we need to honestly see it for what it is and stop waiting for him to be anything else. This is just what he is. He's really good in the clutch sometimes, often really good in the clutch, but also he steals from Publix and gropes women and gropes Uber drivers. So, like, I don't know what the Bucs are gonna do because this is what Jameis is, and I don't know if I'm buying in as a franchise on somebody like this. But at the same time, he's a pretty good quarterback, better than average. He just makes some really bad decisions, dummy decisions, and he's definitely not good enough to pull them out of this tough division. I think they're the worst team here, and they get beat up a lot by all the other teams. I think they're growing on, like you said, Sam. They made some good additions through the draft and whatnot. I think Jason Pierre-Paul is probably going to make a little bit of noise, but the rest of the division is just really good. It's just not a good time for them to be growing.
Yeah, exactly. You have three quarterbacks in that division who have MVPs, who have either won Super Bowl or have been league MVPs. You have receivers who are probably top 5 in the league. You have running back committees that are top 5 in the league. And you're over here getting suspended, not acting like a professional, and really hurting your team in 3 important games, extremely important games to start the year. The Bucs can really start the season 0-3. Their schedule is not easy. They start the season off at the Saints, then they play the Eagles, and then they play the Steelers. So, to me, those are 3 losses right there. They're 0-3. That's not even close.
Rip.
All right.
But in his defense, had he played those 3 games, maybe they're 1-2. Maybe
they're 1-2, but in that division, in a division that I think can be somewhat close, because I don't think the Falcons, Panthers, and Saints are that far apart. And if Jameis Winston in his 4th year can really show why he was the number 1 pick, he can try to push for a playoff spot. If they start 0-3, I don't see any way how they come back and make a playoff spot in that division. So I'm disappointed in Jameis. I don't think there's a place for that in the NFL, but we'll see how many games the Bucs win next year. I don't think it's going to be very many. The Bucs might have a new quarterback next year. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and the trading option is a really interesting option. I didn't even think about that. But trading.
He has a 5th-year option. He was a first-round pick. His salary would be that of the top 10 quarterbacks in the National Football League. They can franchise tag him and trade him, or they could use that 5th-year option and trade him. They have both at their disposal. I believe they've already used the 5th-year option on him, so he's a Tampa Bay Buck for a year after this. and that money will become guaranteed. But I can see a lot of teams that have older quarterbacks or have question marks trading what's a third-round pick or a second-round pick for a guy like Jameis Winston.
Yeah, and I think that's a good return for him too. If they have a top 5 pick, just pick up an extra second or third. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah,
me too. So the over/under is 6.5.
I'm gonna go under. I think they win 6 games.
Yeah, given that they're without Jameis for the first 3, I'm going under. I think 5 or 6.
Well, okay, if we can all agree that their first 3 games are L's, so they're really playing 13 games this year. And
I was just thinking that they're not winning six of those games.
Yeah, they're not winning.
That's exactly how I was thinking.
So that's like, they're like a 3-win team.
Seriously, yeah, they might be.
And honestly, part of it is just gonna be the record, like the scheduling. That's tough. Opening up 0-3, that's tough.
Yeah, and look, their schedule doesn't get much easier after they play those 3 teams. They play the Bears, who we discussed as having one of the best defenses in the league. That's going to be Jameis' first game back. Then they play the Atlanta Falcons. Then they play the Cleveland Browns. That's not an easy 6-game stretch. The schedule is not easy. I don't see them actually winning more than 4 games.
Yeah, I agree. That's 1-6 right. 1-5 right there.
Yeah,
I agree. So 3 wins for the Bucks. Yikes. Moving on, last team in the division, the Carolina Panthers. So what do they do? How do they surround my boy Cam this year?
Yeah, the Carolina Panthers actually did some disservice to Cam. They let go of Andrew Norwell. When I say let go, I mean they didn't opt to re-sign him. They really couldn't. They have Matt Khalil, Ryan Khalil, paying both of them a lot of money. They also have one of the best guards in football, Trey Turner. They couldn't really spend any more money on that offensive line. If it was up to me, I would have let go of Ryan Khalil. I know he's been there a long time. I think at this point, Andrew Norwell is a little bit more important. They didn't make any big offseason moves. They did bring Dontari Poe in from the Atlanta Falcons on a 3-year deal, which I believe is going to be really important. They're going to get a lot out of him. They lost Darlu Talele, who signed with the Buffalo Bills. This is going to be an interesting team. Cam's really talented. We've seen what Cam can do, but we've also seen what this team looks like when Cam's not on his top game. So what do you guys think about the Panthers? How do you think they're going to fare in this division? They're definitely going to be better than the Bucks.
Yeah, I think they're better than the Bucks, but we've been talking about the Saints, Falcons, and Panthers about how they're all like neck and neck for best team in the division. But I think the Panthers are easily the worst out of those 3. They're just, as I look at their roster, they're just not as talented as the other 2. I do expect a jump from Christian McCaffrey. He had a decent year last year, but I think we see some real improvement this year. The receiver position isn't very strong. Greg Olsen is getting old, so I do like the Ian Thomas draft pick. I think he can come out and be pretty productive as a number 2 tight end, but their defense is aging. Julius Peppers is still their starting defensive end. Thomas Davis is like 38 now, and he's still starting. Their secondary isn't very good. I don't think Cam can carry them as far as we think he can. Like, their roster isn't very talented.
No, it certainly isn't. And it's not very talented around Cam either. Like, they don't really give him that many weapons. He's got Christian McCaffrey and Curtis Samuel, but that's kind of it. They've drafted DJ Moore.
I do like DJ Moore.
I do too. I like him, but to surround an all-pro quarterback with a rookie receiver, a second year running back is just kind of disservice. Like you said, Reezaan, he deserves better than that. And for that reason, I also don't think they go that far. I think they do pretty well in the division. I don't see them really contending for the Super Bowl and much less that good of a team in the playoffs. I think they just get there.
Yeah, I think no matter who's on this Panthers defense, they always play pretty well. It's led by Luke Kuechly, and as long as he's on the field, I believe in this defense, and I think they could do all right this year. But I also think that the talent around Cam is pretty good. I like DJ Moore, I like Devin Funchess, I like Greg Olsen, I like Christian McCaffrey, and I definitely like Curtis Samuels. But they also brought in C.J. Anderson from the Denver Broncos, who I don't think is going to be, a 1,000-yard rusher, but I think he's going to take some work away from Christian McCaffrey. He'll be a good goal line back. He'll definitely work in that system where people are paying attention to the quarterback and making sure that he doesn't run. So I think the Panthers could be decent. We always look at their roster, or at least I do, and I'm like, how are they going to win 8-9 games? How are they going to win 10-11 games? But they always do. So I've kind of learned my lesson the past several years, and I'm not going to stop believing in Cam because he's pretty damn good. So I think it'll be hard making the playoffs. I think you have to win 10 games in the NFC to make the playoffs. It just depends on their over and under, I guess.
Yeah, the over-under is 9, so you're pretty close.
Yeah, I'm going to push.
Yeah, I'm going to push as well. No, I'll give him 10. Somebody's got to win games. I'll give him 10.
I'm going to take 9.
Yeah, this is one of the most interesting divisions in football, and you're seeing a legend. It might be his last year or his second last year. We don't really know. You're seeing two former MVPs really taking their teams on. You're seeing number 1 overall pick not acting like one, but has all the talent in the world. We've all seen it. We've all seen him escape the pressure, make a crazy throw to Mike Evans down the field. The quarterback play is really good. It depends on their supporting cast and the people around them. But when you look at these rosters, I think the Saints have the best team in the division. And I think we all kind of agree that they're going to be number 1.
No, I don't agree.
All right. Well, Sam's delusional.
Mental illness. I agree with you. I think the Saints have the best roster, best quarterback, and I think they win this division. I'm not gonna say they're gonna run away with it, but they definitely win this division.
Yeah. So what's your order, Alvin? I think we might have a different order on the Panthers and the Falcons.
Saints, Panthers, Falcons, Bucks.
I have Saints,
Spicy.
Falcons, Panthers, and the Bucks.
Yeah, Alvin, you're tripping. The Panthers are not finishing on top of us. I might give it to the Saints just because they're so talented. They're so good. But you already know I'm going to say Falcons on top, then the Saints, then the Panthers, then the Bucks.
Yeah, all right. You say that now, but we'll see at the end of the season. We'll come back to this.
No, the Panthers are trash.
Yeah, okay, we'll see. And so, yeah, there we go. That's the NFC and AFC South divisional rankings this week. All right, we just got breaking news from Travis Frederick himself. He's been diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome. For all who don't know, it's not a very popular disease, really rare, and it's a paralysis kind of disease. So you feel numbing in your fingers and stuff, and then eventually your whole body is paralyzed. There's no cure, but he will heal eventually. The recovery time is really, there's no timetable, nobody really knows, but it can take 6 months for people to learn to walk again. So there's a decent chance that Travis Frederick isn't playing football for a while. So prayers out to Travis Frederick and his family. We wish them the best. But this sounds like a very serious disease. I'm no doctor, but from me just looking it up, this is very serious.
Yeah, that's
prayers. You never want to hear this type of news, so prayers out to him. Get back on the field soon. Get healthy. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, man, that sucks. Prayers up to Travis Frederick and his family. He's the best center in the league, no doubt about it. huge part of the Cowboys' offensive line. They've lost, and taken away from Travis Frederick for a minute, like the Cowboys have lost so many important players, just so many leaders from their team. They're such an interesting team to look out for, and it just sucks to lose a guy like Travis Frederick to something like this. Thinking he might not play football again is really tough. So
yeah,
all the
it's
best.
Gonna hurt them a lot.
That's insane. So yes, please get well soon. Get healthy. Wish you the best, Travis Frederick. Wow, why am I having a hard time saying his name tonight? But other news with the NFL.
So within the past couple of days, ESPN has come out and said that they will no longer be showing the national anthem before a game. This is an extremely big deal. If you watch football remotely, you know what's going on with the anthem, players protesting it, the new rules that have come out for the national anthem and where players have to be and how they all have to be in unison and things like that. And then our beloved president comes out and says that we should all stop watching ESPN and basically send them emails and calls and let them know that what they're doing is wrong and that people are going to go on a strike and not watch ESPN anymore. He said this at a rally last night on a Tuesday. And so this is really interesting. A lot of former players, most recently Victor Cruz, worked for ESPN. They're really trying hard to bring on athletes who have really good image, a lot of fan following. ESPN usually loses a lot of money. They don't make a ton of money. They hold Disney back a lot. So this is a decision that I don't think was made by the president of ESPN. I think this is coming from something much higher, and that's from their parent company, which is Disney. This is really interesting. Alvin, you and I were talking about it. They're really not even staying neutral. What do you think about this? What do you think about the anthem not being shown anymore? Because if you remember, just a couple of years ago, the anthem wasn't shown at all. But to make the players more marketable, they started showing the anthem on TV.
Yeah, I think
they're trying to get out of the conversation altogether. Like, they just don't want to be involved in all this. And I don't blame them because the stuff that's going down with the president and just everything in general, it's a lot. And for ESPN, they're a sports broadcasting network. I don't think they really want to get involved in the extra politics.
Yeah, I completely agree. But at the same time, it's it sends the message that we don't want to get involved, but the actual act isn't neutral to me. And so it's interesting that they're taking away the anthem and saying it like that. So I don't think this calls for anybody to stop watching. I think it's the opposite in that I think it quiet some of the noise, and I think it's the NFL's turn to figure out what they're going to do. Because ESPN's taking its stand and it's decided we're not showing the anthem. No one else is making a decision. No one is taking a stance either way. The NFL is deciding. The ESPN's deciding. They just won't show it to get it out of their hair. And I think it's fantastic. I think we should not show it. Let's just not show it anymore. Or let's just have players sit in the locker room during the national anthem. Call it a day. It's the easiest way to settle it.
Yeah, but if you've watched, I agree with you. I don't even think the players should come out. I think showing the anthem is something really important. I love seeing the flag fly right before a football game. One of the things that they do, though, is they show all of the players lined up with their hands on their heart or their hands on their sides to make them more lifelike, right? Like, these are people that we have posters of or we talk about on a daily basis, that they're still American, they still love this country, and they're singing the anthem for it. We have seen players literally start crying during the national anthem before. So it's a really interesting move by ESPN. I don't know whether to applaud or to question it. I think because of that, I'm not really going to say anything about it. And we'll see if other, CBS and Fox will follow suit. I doubt Fox will follow. I don't think Fox is going to stop showing the national anthem. Nope. That's not going to happen. CBS might. But I guess it's just time will tell. I think less players are kneeling during the national anthem anyways. I think the discussion is really going to fly over. I think there's other things that the players are worried about, like the helmet policy and trying to get used to that are going to be distracting enough already.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's going to be a lot of other conversations, and the NFL, like potentially this one could really die down if people start to handle it right. And not to say the conversation should die down because it really shouldn't, but I would like to see this conversation be had another way, like another protest. So if we could take away the national anthem protest, players would find another way to protest, and then we could have the conversation about the injustice in America and what this should be about, instead of some other bullshit about the national anthem and respecting our country, which is it's not what it's about. So hopefully, I think the best way going forward would just be to like conveniently slide this onto something else. So I don't know what they could protest next, but let's do something else. We can talk about what it actually is.
And for owners or Trump or anyone else to say that the ratings are falling, it's complete BS. 123 million people watched the Super Bowl last year. That's 100 million more than any of the NBA Finals games and 100 million more than the 2018 FIFA World Cup. The fame over football is not dying. I was just recently in Europe, and everyone loves football. Like, everyone's trying to get into it. They play at Wembley. Apparently, it's a madhouse when they're playing. Like, the people don't even know the names, but they love seeing guys hit each other. They love seeing big plays. The sport is growing in popularity, probably right beside soccer. So I don't buy that they're losing money and things like that. It's just complete BS. Take away from what's actually happening, and that's social injustice, and that's why they're doing this.
Yeah, I agree. All right, that's it for another episode of PSA. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all everywhere. You can listen to us on Go Defy Life and SoundCloud. On Go Defy Life, please check out our memorabilia. Get you a shirt, hat, something nice. Any last words for you, gentlemen?
No, y'all be safe. Enjoy the podcast. Don't text and drive if you live in Georgia.
Don't text and drive if you live anywhere. Thank you for listening. Please leave us questions. Please leave us comments. Give us something to talk about. We want to interact with y'all more, so let us know.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for listening. We out of here.